Hello, and hello again. Welcome back. I recorded a video yesterday regarding Claude's Haiku 4.5, their latest small model in version 4.5, which is significantly smarter than the previous one, and in some cases almost as good as Sonnet 4.5 from my limited experience, and it turns out from other developers on the web as well. After I recorded the video, I looked at some of these other first take videos to see, am I crazy or is this a common theme? And I saw one that was really good. His name is, or his YouTube channel at least, is Coder. Excellent channel. He records really good videos, and I encourage you to watch it if you're interested in Claude Haiku 4.5, where it's good, where it's smart. And the interesting thing that he points out, I'll just mention very briefly. The token cost is a third of what Sonnet 4.5 is. However, in many applications, at least the ones that he did, he ran some evaluations, it uses 30% more tokens to accomplish the same task. And although it's maybe twice as fast, it uses more tokens. So speed per token, it averages out a bit, but it is cheaper and it is faster than Sonnet 4.5. And in many cases, it's good enough. Or is it? Because there are a lot of people on YouTube, apparently, that have said it's terrible. It's the worst model Anthropic has released. And so the example that I gave yesterday of refactoring a, to be honest, very simple control using web search to get the idea, the context, is maybe not a really important or significant evaluation of Haiku 4.5. So today, I thought, let's do two things. Let's give it a bigger task. And I'd like to share with you how I generally develop day to day. Now, sometimes I'm in VS Code exclusively for hours on end, writing code or nudging the agents, guiding them, inspiring them to write the code I need to build new features, refactor existing ones, fix bugs, etc. And as you know, I really like to use the client extensions plan versus act mode to get all the planning done and have it either produce a PRD, which I save to a PRDs folder, or simply act off of that and, let it go. There's another way that I've found effective as well. Sometimes it's better to, well, let me give you an illustrative example. This is coding within VS Code using an agentic approach, and it could be Anthropic, Claude, oh, so many names. Sonnet, Haiku, Opus, or it could be OpenAI's GPT-5, or with Codex in the CLI, or Claude Code, or Grok, or any number of powerful models. Google Gemini as well has many that you can plug into Klein, and most of them plug into Klein in some fashion, and you can switch between them, and it's great. But you know what's also great? A sandbox. Now, what's a sandbox? It's a box full of sand. But in terms of AI coding, a sandbox can be thought of as, I'll just hide this, as a way to explore without committing an idea, a series of questions regarding a code base. And I decided to do this this morning. And what I haven't actually finished pursuing this, but I'll show you where I'm at. And there will be a part two. I'll probably stitch them together in DaVinci Resolve or ScreenFlow or whatever when I'm done recording. What am I going to do? What am I trying to do? Well, I have an application which if you follow me for a while, all know it's Alberta WellFinder. And over the last few weeks, I began developing a new application called Canada WellFinder, which is more expansive because it's 5 provinces instead of 1. But it doesn't contain all the data of Alberta WellFinder. So in Alberta WellFinder, you get things like pipelines, you have, of course, wells, and even these things called facilities. And you can do a lot more. Canada WellFinder is more simple. You get well sites in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, BC, and where are we here? There's Ontario. Doesn't give you all of the features, facilities, pipelines, sharing, collaboration, but it's more data in terms of geographic coverage. And it has actually more in similarity with Alberta WellFinder than it doesn't. And as such, so you probably know what this is like. You develop one thing, and then months or a year or two later, you develop a second thing. And that second thing can be informed by some of the things you've learned with the first thing. Of course, maybe you can make improvements, but sometimes when you spend a lot of time on a project, you establish certain really good patterns, either on your own entirely or with the help of AI, agentic coding, or the Sandbox. And so what I wondered is, could I use, here we have, here, let's change this around. So here we have above the project file for, well, they're both Canada WellFinder. Canada or Alberta WellFinder, and looking at a specific particular area, which I will find for you in a moment. Map, and we'll do the same down here. Source, lib, components, map. All right. So Alberta WellFinder left, and then right is Canada WellFinder down here. Now, what am I looking to do? Well, to start with, I'm just wondering if some of the code organization that I've already spent a lot of time on in the Alberta WellFinder application, where the map component is just a few hundred lines of code. It's quite small, but I've refactored different parts of it into other components, which makes it easier for me to maintain, actually makes it easier for the models to reason too. If you have a super giant file, the models tend to blow up their context window too quickly, and you don't always need all of the code all the time. So what I did is I started with the Alberta WellFinder, and I simply dragged and dropped. You can do up to 20. So what is this? 13 files, and asked it provide feedback on this application. And why this? Why not? Why don't I tell it more? Because again, we don't want to lead the witness and lose value in what it can provide to us regarding insight. And so at this point, it doesn't know what I want to do. I want to refactor Canada WellFinder's map component so it's not so massive, easier to work with, better, cleaner, tighter, consistent, blah, 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 blah. And so this is its results. And I'm going to read through part of this with you because I found this interesting. This is kind of what I suspected, but just like when you think you know something and you watch a YouTube video like Go Through Coder and he says what you are already thinking or what I already thought, it's sort of encouraging, like we're on the right track. So yes, map.svelte is a God component. Agreed. It's too big. I knew that already. And so it's suggesting already some ways to refactor this. I didn't ask it to refactor, but it's thinking I should, which is good. Again, I didn't tell it I'm looking to refactor. It's just telling me maybe I should. So it's like a friend who offers you a mint. Take it. Excessive API calls. Well, this is another one. I do have, if you look at this application, it's, I'm trying some new things when dealing with tons of data. Here we have 900,000 wells, and I'm testing or comparing my local laptop's PostGIS database versus the production server, which is a bazillion core Ryzen Threadripper, blah, 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 something massive with tons of RAM. And not surprisingly, grabbing 5,000 wells is many times faster on that beast than it is even on my M2 Max laptop with 64 gigs of RAM. And even though the server is technically on-prem, but it's a few network hops away from where I'm working right now. Anyways, why do I mention this? Because I am kind of bad at testing this, but it's right. In production, I'll probably lower this. Missing clustering, also true. Now, it goes on and on with some other, non-obvious improvements. Interesting thing about this, by the way, non-obvious, this comes up because in my system prompt with Claude, I ask it to surface things that are not obvious or common. And I find this to be, not always, but often very helpful in thinking outside the box, or as I like to say, think outside the circle. And so what do I do next? So it's analyzed Alberta WellFinder in somewhat of isolation, just the mapping stuff. For example, in Alberta WellFinder, I'll give you a little lay of the land here. Speaking of layers, so we have the map core and we have a general route, and then map core loads layer controller because we have wells, pipelines, facilities. And then within the layer controller component, it will import components for pipelines, facilities, and wells. And so it understands that. And now we get to Canada WellFinder, which is simpler. I drag in the sort of similar type of components. Again, they're not one-to-one the same. And that's kind of the point. I think we can do better in this new application by learning from the older one. And so now it understands with, yeah, and actually this is another thing that's worth saying. Okay, so I tell it right here, I want to pursue issue 1. This is another suggestion I have that I don't always follow, but I should, is that when the models give you multiple things to do, don't attack all of them at once. Unless they're very similar, cognitively close together, like you're looking at, well, layers. Well, you can look at these 3 different kinds of layers and craft a solution for that. It would be harder to do that probably separately than cohesively, but we don't need to include parts of the application that don't have anything to do with a map. And so I point that out. Let's pursue issue 1 map. And let's make some room, bump this up. Let me show you a different mapping application, which is what I just did, and see if you can see if it can help you with inspiration and patterns in refactoring. This is important. I am not telling you to copy it. Just can you learn something? Also, because I maintain both, there is cognitive concurrency, it's a fancy phrase, in similarity and familiarity. Do you understand perfectly my intent with 100% confidence, or do you have any clarifying questions? And as you know, this is one of my favorite things to finish my prompts with. It's with the system prompt, but repeating it often kind of reminds the model to really be clear. And so it's telling me it's pretty close. And so it asks me some questions. So I'm giving it some information, and now it's going to interview me. And this is a really great way to plan when you're not in the thick of the code. You're sort of like at 30,000 feet, observing its thoughts, analyses in the sandbox before you start building your skyscraper. And yeah, I won't read all of this. You can read it for yourself. And it's misidentifying Canada WellFinder as something else, which it's not yet. And then it starts asking me these clarifying questions, which are great. It's, wants to know organization. I have a lot of stores in Canada WellFinder. He thinks maybe we could merge them. And I agree. It kind of bugged me how, as I started developing it, I was creating more and more persistent stores in local storage that could be maybe made a little simpler. Blah, blah, blah. And then it's talking about UI related issues. And this is also really good. So it's very thorough. And here we're using Sonnet 4.5. So to be clear, I talked about Haiku 4.5. We're going to use that in Claude Code. But I like using the best model in the web chat, in the sandbox. There's no reason not to. I'm paying $20 a month for this subscription. I rarely max out the web chat, because although it's technically limited, the max tokens per day are quite high. And so you can really, and they're mainly input tokens. I'm not having it generate code for the most part. And okay. And then in some of these cases, by the way, this is good too. It's asked me 8 questions, whichever is best. Sometimes I'm not sure. Option A, and then, ask it a question. We're not committed to anything yet, and we have tons of context left in this conversation. All right. And so finally, it's there. And now it produces a beautiful PRD. And what is this PRD for? It's not for it. I'm going to use this PRD, product requirements document, which is a fancy way of saying what I want it to do, how and why, and how we can measure success. So it's also a step-by-step in terms of do this, then this, then this, and then check for this. And it helps the models not get lost or confused as they code their way towards our objective. And again, I won't read all of this, but it's generated in Markdown. It's, again, repeating things regarding the stores. Again, why is it repeating it? Because the next model that I have a conversation with doesn't know what's all above the fold of this chat window. And it's even like, yeah, I wanted to, for example, here, if I click a well, I want that circle to change color. And I can do things like I can click a well and then pin it. Now you can't see the full map because I'm just testing on an iPhone simulator, but on desktop, actually I can show you. Here, if we go over here. So if I pin a well, so this one's pinned, I want this to change color. And I told it that, and it's got the message. Pop-up management. So why this is nice is I am not working in one project and then sort of committing it to the dustbin of history and starting something new without the value of that. As a programmer, I have that experience, but these AI models don't. They don't know what I did last week in a different project or 5 years ago. And that is kind of an opportunity where we can take existing code bases and inform the models carefully, like I think I'm doing here, at least trying to do, so that we can save time and create a certain consistent pattern in our code and even a best practice. And when we're done all of this, we might even extract, at the end of the day, with Claude Code using Haiku 4.5, if it works, show me what are the best practices and then commit that to a PRD or possibly a Klein rules or a claude.md file. And so at the end, we have a pretty comprehensive PRD, and at the very end, we have our checklist. So it is going to hopefully write the code according to the requirements, and then at the end, check literally these boxes that all of these things are done. And some testing, I think, in here. Verify wells. Yeah, well, we'll see. No component exceeds 300 lines. I didn't actually say that, but sure, why not? We can try. And I like this. At the end of the PRD, Sonnet 4.5 is expressing what I didn't say verbatim, but it is true. This refactor prioritizes architectural clarity over feature additions. This is great stuff because these models, because the models are so good at generating code, they often create more than maybe we even need or want. And so, yes, we want to decompose, not necessarily optimize. And yeah, we want it to work as it did before, for the most part. So now I'm going to pause and get Claude Code set up with Haiku 4.5 and go to the races. See you soon. Bye. Hi, welcome back. So here we are in our application folder, and we're about to start. And I've put the PRD that you just saw in here inside my application project in my PRDs folder, which is, map refactor. And now we're going to see how it works. So we're going to start Claude. And we're going to initialize, because I haven't actually used it in this project yet. And I haven't used it for a while, so I'm a little rusty. We'll see how that goes. You can laugh if you like. I have a Klein rules file. Didn't read that. Oh, and actually before, well, I'll let it finish. And while it's working, I'll just say something that is maybe obvious to most of you. But when we're doing a fairly significant thing, refactoring, I like to commit what's working, and I'm living dangerously, committing it straight to main at the moment. And then if things go horribly sideways, then we can just discard the changes and try something else. All right. Okay, so it's creating a comprehensive Claude MD file. So that might take a little bit. While we wait, let's see, what are the commands? Yeah, so this is where we can set our model. How do I specify haiku? I'll wait for it. Okay, so it's queuing those commands. I might fast forward this part of the video, which is something I probably didn't need to say. Okay, so here it's made our Claude.md, MD for Markdown. And this sits, where are you? Oh, maybe it didn't save it yet. Okay, this is pretty good. It's reading from the README file. I don't know if it got. Okay, so I'm going to escape and I'm going to say, okay, is that what it's called? Yeah, client rules. Strange. Oh, okay, I see. It's because I'm in app. I think that's the reason. There we go. Found it. Okay, so this is something I just learned. Maybe you didn't know this either. I like to put my sort of application in any repo in /app, just so that things that are not related to the app, documentation, assets like, JPEGs, giant images, videos can go above that. And then I sort of know in my mind, like those will be Git ignored anyways, but the models don't need to be aware of that, except in the case of client rules, which it does. Modern web development. Where do you put your dot files? Sort of depends. Okay, so it's going to revise that Claude ND, which I guess apparently is just in its memory. Yeah, it's not committed yet to the file system. Okay. This reminds me of the olden days when we would, compile something kind of big and then go get a coffee and come back. Now we're just waiting for the AIs to work, which is fine. Right, so we have our Claude MD file. And actually, it's worth perhaps noting, if you are like me, you want to maybe read a little bit about what this does. In a nutshell, Claude MD is what Claude uses to get instant context to your project without having to read it every single time. So it's a time saver and it's a context saver. And it's a money saver, which isn't bad either. So now that we're ready, we're going to commit this once. And you may wonder, well, what happens when the application, the project changes, gets bigger and new features? Well, we update this, or it will update this as time goes on. And, technologies change or versions or whatever. But it's kind of like a mental bookmark for the model, for Claude at least. If you're using warp.dev, has something similar. Okay, good. Now, let's switch to okay, I don't know how to switch models. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Here, I'll share this with you. Okay, so you can check here. Let's make this easier and see everything at once. So if we go to model, we're using, we're using the default. Okay, so yeah, that's Sonnet, Sonnet 4.5. So here we see our prices too. So you can see again, the Haiku is much less expensive. Although this is actually for the 1 million token context window at $6. I think that's over 200,000 tokens. It's like 3 when under. Anyways, we're going to use, this is all about Haiku. Okay, so now let's what did I call it? Map refactor. No, doesn't work in the terminal. Actually, let's just have it go. And well, before we do that, all right, now the fun begins. Oh, okay. So it's just pausing here. Should I start with phase 1? Sautéing, even with the E with the accent aigu. So very French model, Claude. Okay. Now, I have no idea how long this is going to take, but we'll see. Map core. Sure. Now, already I'm a little concerned that it's actually recreating the components, although I guess I did agree to that when we were talking to Sonnet 4.5 to create the PRD. And you know what? We're just going to shift tab. We're just going to accept. And these little checks that it does to get your permission we can turn them off, which I'm doing one by one. There's probably a way in here to just turn them all off, like in VS Code, for example. I'll switch to that just momentarily. If I'm using client or whatever, I can where is it? Approve or disapprove certain tool calls somewhere. Anyway. Yes. So it apparently did it. Here, let's look at the code base here. Let's compare. So created a new map core. And, okay, it's going to start using that instead of map. All right. So far, so good. That makes sense. Document is not defined. Okay, so this is, I was running a Vite dev server for this application, and it's now a bit broken because, well, Claude Haiku 4.5 is working on the code. So it's going to break a little bit as it progresses. And this is the thing that's kind of fun, the introspection. You get this in VS Code with Climb. I have to say, running it through Claude Code or warp.dev, Gemini CLI, similar, is a little less noisy. So you can just read as it's working. And yeah, so build the app. All right, yeah, great. You want to do that. Okay, so what was done? Created layer controller. Lookup store. The build was successful. So all right, and actually what I'm curious is, does it actually now run? And it doesn't run. I still get, when I run the dev server document in map controls. Okay, that could be something else. It was working before though, I mean, as you saw. So we'll see. So let's proceed. Now, one thing that I've read from others, including Gosu Coder, is that Sonnet 4.5 is very good at managing its own context and auto-compacting as it's working through a project. What I don't know, and maybe once you watch this, you'll know by then, and if you do, please share it in the comments, is does Sonnet 4.5 do the same thing with its context, auto-compacting and managing things so that it doesn't run out of tokens in the current conversation? We shall see. Put the stopwatch over here. In fact, while we work, let's ask the question. Sometimes I like asking Claude Sonnet to, or Claude, questions about itself, but I don't know why I just Google it. Yes. Proceed. Okay. Maybe? I don't know. All right, so Here we're getting errors in progress. We get a 500. And here, I'll show you the terminal as it works. All right, now at this point, I'm kind of inclined to have it fix this bug, but let's let it roll. And if it's still there at the end, what I like to do is just copy and paste it. So I'll copy it out to my editor. And then paste it back into the chat. Or I don't know, do you call it chat when you're using Claude Code, the terminal? One thing that I wonder too, as this is working, is how different is this from using Claude Haiku 4.5 or Sonnet 4.5 in VS Code via Climb? I understand that, or at least I think I understand that Claude Code does other things like with the Claude MD file and other maybe auto-compact and context monitoring that Climb doesn't do, although I'm not really sure. What do you think? Do you know? All right, so it's removing unused imports. This is a huge time saver. And even if it doesn't work, like the amount of work that it's doing, perfect. Phase 6 complete. Phase 7, okay, yes. I suspect that this is going to be an easy fix. I think what is happening here is this is an old component that was generated by AI, probably Sonnet, that doesn't know Svelte super well, and often these models will do things the vanilla way, which is, document.getElementById. In Svelte applications, the Svelte way to do it is not to directly mutate the DOM, but allow Svelte and the compiler ultimately to do those mutations for us. But the models sometimes forget, which is why you should run a Svelte MCP server, I'm told, by the fellows at Syntax FM, Scott and Wes and other people. Okay, great. Clean and maintainable. However, it doesn't run. So here, one thing that I'm going to try before I tell it the temporary bad news is, let's run it in the browser. And what are we getting in the dev tools? Okay. So good. I'm going to copy this back to my editor. Getting a 500 error. Let's see the following in DevTools console and the terminal. Oops. No. Copilot is trying to autocomplete. Stop it. Please inspect, understand, and explain to me the cause and then fix. Okay. So I want to know what it's doing. I can learn something. So we'll go back here and paste. All right, so it is noodling. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's still doing it the non-Svelte way, but you know what? I don't really care at the moment. I just want to see that it works. And it is testing. Wait, what does that say? UltraThink? Okay, the remaining errors are pre-existing unrelated to our refactor. Okay, fair enough. Caused by server-side rendering incompatibility. Okay, you actually, yeah. Okay, that's what I was thinking. So server-side, so SSR and SvelteKit, your apps can be rendered display in the browser, or they can be rendered by the server, and the server doesn't have access to document. That's a browser thing. And so that is causing a problem, but it actually fixed that by checking if we are in the browser, which is, honestly, don't know why it wasn't there already. It should have been. And the reactive statement works now, even though whatever. Okay, now with that done, why don't I see any wells? Let's go over to my browser and see what this looks like. Okay, so all right, so normally when you zoom in Canada WellFinder, it'll fetch. It's not fetching. Oh, and it's telling me, okay, so good, errors are gone, but yeah, so let's go all for the moment, and I'm gonna go reload. I have a feeling this is, actually I have no idea why it's not doing that. Oh, fetch, no, that's, okay, so that's maps. If I go wells, yeah. All right, so let's see. Speaking of time, we're at almost 50 minutes, which, to be honest, I'm kind of shocked how quickly we've gotten this far, given the level of refactoring that it's been asked to do. So that is almost ready. Oh, and it wants a Yelp review. What do you say? I would say, not bad. Wells now fetch on them. Do they? Do they really? There's definitely a lot of wells around Fort McMurray. And I'm not saying anything in terminal. Why it works. Sorry if this is taking a little longer. I am a newbie at Claude Code and also Haiku 4.5 in Claude Code. Oh, wait a minute. It is fetching. Or maybe it was fetching all along. Well, we don't see any wells though. So what is it? Okay, so if we look at Fetch fit. No, that's the open tiles. Oops. Here, can I just paste an image in here? Yeah, you know what? We'll just. All right, I told it it's doing fine. Which is kind of interesting. I guess that's how they're training the models on our data as it's working. You have some telemetry going back to Anthropic, which is a good idea. Okay, so now it's ran out of context and it's compacting the conversation. So this is what I was mentioning earlier that Sonnet 4.5 does. Maybe better, I don't know. But we're using Haiku 4.5 and it's at least Claude Code it's doing this. Oh, maybe this is the reason. This tries to touch move end handler. So that's actually how the application works, is when the page is idle or you move it and then let go, 100 milliseconds later, it's supposed to fetch. And, and it is continually. Something's going on here. Okay. Okay, well, that's good. We're getting somewhere. Okay, it's offering to run a preview server in the background. Well, at this point, I almost want to tell it that they did start to appear. But it wants to look at the browser console. So that's another kind of form of introspection that does cost some tokens or usage. But it helps it itself. Like if you're using VS Code, it will often start putting in console logs, almost like breakpoints that don't break, and then it can kind of see what's happening. It is basically what I do when trying to debug an application. But yeah, you saw it too. It was working. We're seeing like those wells appear, kind of flashing on the screen. Interestingly, if we were running it in VS Code, we would see the browser at this point. But it seems to be doing it, well, yeah, in the background. Oh, wait a minute. To run in the background. Well, maybe I can. Here, just to be clear, is that... Yeah, so that should be grabbing API wells. No, okay. Yeah. good. So it's going to, I guess it couldn't read the DevTools console log output in the preview browser. Oh, here we go. Okay, so it looks like there's some, let's actually stop. Okay, so we are fetching our wells. There you are, wells. Saskatchewan. Lovely. However, and we're only fetching once, or at least, I don't know what these other ones are for, are fetched and displayed the oops. Now, how do I resume? No, resume. React component library. Okay, I don't know what that's about. So we'll resume that session. And actually, before I say that, can I upload? I don't know how to upload. And the fans in my MacBook are starting to spin. Oh, okay. There we go. Oh yeah, this happens in Svelte sometimes. You have a reactive loop, so a reactive statement that when one thing changes, then do this, and then it changes, and then do it again. I think that's what's happening. And I think it's figured it out. Yeah, on style load, that's actually a really common pattern in MapLibre GLJS applications is there are race conditions as the necessary dependencies get loaded and initialized. If you do a network request in Svelte and you get it's promise based, so you get it back, and then you add it to a store, it can just create some weird, well, what you just saw, weird things that are intermittent, which are the worst kinds of bugs. So if your computer is fast enough or the moon is in the right phase, the things will load, but other times they'll do what you just saw, either not load and, oh, it's working now. Wonderful. And let's try our simulator. Oh yeah, that'll make these circles a little bigger. Maybe cluster them. Yeah, Saskatchewan. Well, there we go, friends. We have just done a rather ambitious, I would say, refactor of an application that, I'm going to review the code before pushing it to main, but it seems to be working. Well, it is working. And we have some brand new components. We have our layer controller, which will make it easier to, if I want to in the future, actually add pipelines and facilities to the other provinces. We now have the architecture to make that manageable, because they're just going to be other layers that are managed by layer controller, and that won't bloat map.svelte or mapcore.svelte. So there we have it. A refactored application informed by a conversation in Claude Desktop with Sonnet 4.5, which then created a PRD, which I added to the project. And then with Claude, using Haiku 4.5, had a conversation. Oh, I know, the last thing I wanted to know, what did this cost us? Can you guess? I'm going to guess $10. And, oh, this was my last session. Okay, this last thing was 9. How do I do cost? Of the current session. Okay, I don't know. It was definitely more than 9 cents, but anyways, that's all. I think it was a success. Haiku 4.5 is useful and I think still pretty inexpensive. So I'm impressed. Thank you for your time. Have a great day. See you.